September 9 AD, Germania. A column of 15,000 to 20,000 Roman soldiers marches through a dense forest. 3 full legions, the XVIII, XVI, and XIX, some of Rome's finest troops. They're led by Publius Quinctilius Varus, the governor of Germania, a man trusted by Emperor Augustus himself. Marching beside Varus is Arminius, a Germanic chieftain who serves Rome. Arminius has Roman citizenship. He's been educated in Rome. He served in the Roman auxiliary forces. He's a trusted ally. But Arminius is leading them into a trap. Over the next 3 days, Germanic tribes will ambush, surround, and annihilate the entire Roman force. Not a single legion will survive. It will be one of Rome's greatest military disasters. And it will change the course of European history. This is the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, the day 20,000 Romans died in the German forest, and the betrayal that stopped Rome's conquest of Germania. By 9 AD, Rome had conquered most of the known world: Gaul, Spain, Britain, North Africa, Greece, the Middle East. Everywhere the legions marched, they won. Germania, the lands beyond the Rhine River, was next. Emperor Augustus wanted to push Rome's border from the Rhine to the Elbe River, bringing all of Germania under Roman control. Publius Quinctilius Varus was appointed governor of Germania to oversee the Romanization of the tribes. His job was to collect taxes, enforce Roman law, and integrate the Germanic people into the empire. But Varus misunderstood the situation. He treated the Germanic tribes like a conquered province. He imposed Roman taxes. He held Roman-style courts. He assumed the tribes had accepted Roman rule. They hadn't. Among the Germanic leaders was a young chieftain named Arminius. He was from the Cherusci tribe, but he had been sent to Rome as a hostage in his youth, a common practice to ensure tribal loyalty. In Rome, Arminius was educated, trained in Roman military tactics, and eventually given Roman citizenship. He served in the Roman auxiliary cavalry and earned the respect of Roman commanders. When he returned to Germania, he served as an advisor to Varus. The governor trusted him completely. But Arminius had never stopped being a Germanic warrior, and he was planning the destruction of Varus and his legions. In September of 9th AD, Varus was leading his 3 legions, about 15,000 to 20,000 men, plus thousands of camp followers, from their summer camp back to their winter quarters along the Rhine.
Arminius approached Varus with a report. A distant tribe was rebelling. If Varus marched quickly through the Teutoburg Forest, he could suppress the rebellion before it spread.
It was a lie. There was no rebellion. But Varus believed Arminius. Varus ordered his legions to march through the forest. It was a terrible decision. Roman legions were unbeatable in open terrain. Their disciplined formations, the testudo, the triplex aces, allowed them to crush any enemy in pitched battle. Their heavy armor, large shields, short swords, and javelins made them a nearly invincible war machine. But in the forest, none of that mattered. The Teutoburg Forest was dense, dark, and difficult. Narrow paths, thick undergrowth, towering trees, muddy ground. And it was raining, torrential rain that turned the forest floor into slippery mud. Roman formations couldn't deploy. The legionaries were strung out in a long column, unable to see more than a few feet in any direction. Their heavy armor became a burden. Their large shields were useless. They were vulnerable, and Arminius knew it. On the first day, the ambush began. Germanic warriors emerged from the forest. They attacked the column from both sides, then melted back into the trees before the Romans could respond. Spears, javelins, arrows. The Germans struck from the shadows, killing Romans, then disappearing. Varus tried to maintain order. He urged his men forward, hoping to reach open ground where they could form proper battle lines. But the attacks continued, all day, all night. By the second day, the Romans were exhausted, demoralized, and bleeding. They had no idea where they were. The forest seemed endless. Germanic warriors were everywhere and nowhere. Varus realized too late that he'd been betrayed. Arminius, the trusted ally, was leading the ambush. The Romans tried to build a fortified camp for the night, but the ground was too soft, the rain too heavy. They huddled together, wet, cold, terrified. On the third day, the final assault began. The Germanic tribes, Cherusci, Marsi, Chatti, Bructeri, converged on the trapped Romans. Thousands of warriors surrounded what remained of the three legions. The Romans fought desperately. They tried to form the testudo, the tortoise formation with shields locked together. But in the mud and chaos, it fell apart. Legionaries were cut down in the forest. Officers were targeted and killed. The wounded were left behind, executed or sacrificed by the Germans. Varus, seeing that defeat was inevitable, made a final decision. He would not be captured. He drew his sword and fell on it, committing suicide rather than face the humiliation of being paraded through Rome as a defeated general. With Varus dead, the remaining Romans broke. Some tried to fight their way out. Some tried to surrender. Few succeeded. The Germanic tribes showed little mercy. Roman officers were executed. Some soldiers were enslaved. Others were sacrificed to Germanic gods in brutal rituals. And the eagles, the sacred standards of the three legions, were captured. For Rome, losing the eagle was the ultimate disgrace. It represented the honor and soul of the legion. All three eagles were taken. The XVIII, XVIII, and XIX legions ceased to exist. By the end of the third day, between 15,000 and 20,000 Romans lay dead in the Teutoburg Forest. The few survivors who escaped carried the news back to the Rhine. The three legions had been annihilated. When the news reached Rome, Emperor Augustus was devastated. According to the historian Suetonius, Augustus was so distraught that for months afterward, he would bang his head against the palace walls, crying out, "Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions!" He never got them back. Rome abandoned its plans to conquer Germania beyond the Rhine. The Rhine River became the permanent border of the Roman Empire. The three legion numbers, 17, 19, and 19, were never used again. They were erased from Roman military records, a mark of disgrace and mourning. For decades, Rome tried to recover the lost eagles. Germanicus, a Roman general, led campaigns into Germania in 1416 AD and managed to recover two of the three eagles. The third was recovered years later by another expedition. But the legions themselves were never reformed. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest changed the course of history. If Rome had conquered Germania, all of Europe might have been Romanized. Germanic tribes might have adopted Latin, Roman law, and Roman culture, just like Gaul and Spain did. But they didn't. The Rhine remained the border. The Germanic tribes remained independent. And that division between Romanized Western Europe and Free Germania would shape European culture for the next 2,000 years. The Romance languages, French, Spanish, Italian, developed in areas Rome conquered. The Germanic languages, German, Dutch, English, developed in areas Rome never fully controlled. Arminius became a hero to the Germanic people. Centuries later, German nationalists celebrated him as Hermann the Liberator, a symbol of German resistance against foreign domination. A massive statue of Arminius, 175 feet tall, was erected near the battlefield in the 1800s. It still stands today. The battlefield itself remained lost for nearly 2,000 years. Ancient sources described it, but no one knew the exact location. Then, in 1987, a British military officer named Tony Clun, who was also an amateur archaeologist, was using a metal detector near Kalkreis, Germany. He found ancient Roman coins. Excavations followed. Archaeologists uncovered thousands of artifacts scattered across the forest. Roman weapons, armor, coins, tools. They found human bones. They found evidence of massive fortifications built by the Germans to trap the Romans. It was the battlefield. After 2,000 years, the site of Rome's greatest defeat had been found. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest. 3 legions, 20,000 soldiers, 3 days of ambush in the forest. Total annihilation. Rome's worst defeat. Germania's greatest victory. the betrayal that stopped an empire, and the battle that divided Europe for the next 2 millennia. Arminius had achieved what no one else had done. He defeated Rome, not in a fair fight on an open battlefield, but through deception, knowledge of terrain, and ruthless ambush tactics. He proved that Rome was not invincible, and that changed everything. What do you think? Was Arminius a hero or a traitor? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more legendary battles where the underdog defeated an empire, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because sometimes the forest is more dangerous than the sword.